Welcome to Wake Up Canada News. I'm Brad Wilder. This next article was written by James Scharf. Controlled by force or controlled by trust? How media manipulation sustained power and why its collapse signals their loss of control. In everyday society, control comes in one of two forms: control by trust or control by force. Now, these two methods of governing produced vastly different relationships between the people and those in power. Trust-based control involves persuasion, consent, and belief in shared values. Force-based control, on the other hand, relies on fear, coercion, and even suppression. Now, for most of the 20th century, and even into the 21st century, Western governments, Canada included, relied predominantly on trust-based control, carefully cultivated through mass media narratives. The press, television, and later digital media acted not merely as informers of fact, but as architects of belief. They told us what was happening, what to care about, who to trust, and who to fear. But that trust was built on illusion, not truth. The role of media in manufactured trust? Well, historically, the media functioned as a bridge between the public and the state. But this bridge was never neutral. It was shaped by powerful interests, corporate owners, government relationships, and intelligence influence. During war times, it rallied citizens to fight and sacrifice. During economic crises, well, it told people to tighten belts. And during health emergencies, it preached obedience. There's plenty of examples, and they're numerous, from the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq back in 2003 when the U.S. and Allied media insisted Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction, a claim later proven false, yet the media's repetition created a mass public support for an illegal war. There was a lockdown justification, COVID-19, that's right, between 2020 and 2022, where governments declared states of emergency based on models that were never publicly scrutinized. Media framed skeptics as anti-science, stoking fear and shame to enforce compliance. There was even the convoy protests in Canada back in 2022. The media called peaceful protesters racist and terrorists, suppressing the real story: working-class people demanding the restoration of rights. Trust in CBC and legacy outlets all collapsed overnight. In all these cases, the media was not just wrong, it was complicit. It didn't just fail, it lied. And over time, more people noticed. The collapse of media credibility today, well, that collapse of trust in media is one of defining phenomena of our era. Once respected outlets like CBC, CTV, CNN, and the New York Times are now widely viewed with suspicion. Social media, ironically, became a refuge for truth seekers until it was also censored and manipulated by the same forces. Poll after poll shows declining trust in journalists. Citizens are now fact-checking the fact-checkers. Where once a headline could set a national agenda, even the most orchestrated narrative is met with skepticism, ridicule, and forensic scrutiny. So what happens when control through trust breaks down? The answer is simple. They switch to force. The rise of coercive control, and in the absence of trust, it doesn't vanish. It mutates. It's why we're seeing an escalation in force-based tactics. Surveillance expansion from facial recognition to biometric tracking. Governments are bypassing consent. Censorship laws, online harms bills, and misinformation policies are pushed through to silent dissent. Police enforcement of political agendas, including peaceful protesters, farmers, and even religious groups, face targeted crackdowns. Financial coercion, well, from frozen bank accounts to carbon spending limits, citizens are being nudged or shoved into compliance. But here's the paradox. Resorting to force signals weakness, not strength. Why the use of force means they're losing? Well, when rulers are confident in their legitimacy, they don't need brute force. When they lose moral authority and public consent, their only remaining tool is intimidation. This is precisely what we're witnessing today. The censorship arrests, the panic around extremism, are all signs that they're no longer trusting the people to believe them. The curtain has been pulled back. Trust once masked the tyranny. Force now exposes it. So what comes next? Every authoritarian system in history, when exposed and deprived of legitimacy, has resorted to force in its final chapter. But such regimes are unsustainable. Force breeds resistance. Suppression fuels solidarity. We're entering a historic turning point. The old tools of control, media manipulation, stage consensus, experts no longer function. People are waking up, and while that awakening is messy, it's also necessary. The path forward lies not in submitting to coercion or returning to false trust, but in rebuilding society from the ground up on truth, mutual accountability, and real consent. That means restoring things like jury trials and grand juries, local accountability, common law protections, independent investigations, honest, decentralized information channels. In conclusion, the tipping point is here. We were once controlled by trust, but it was a trust built on lies. Now they attempt to control by force, but it only hastens their fall. The people are not just rejecting the media, they're rejecting the entire illusion of legitimacy propped up by propaganda. This is a moment of truth. What happens next will be decided by what we're willing to build, restore, and defend. Not with fear, not with violence, but with truth and courage. Till next time, thanks for watching Wake Up Canada News. Please like, share, and follow us on all your favorite socials. Have a story you want to connect with us to? info@wakeupcanadanews.com is our email. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're the voice, and it is time to make it count. I'm Brad Wilder, and I'll see you next time.